Hello, this is Ms. Schrader. Today we are going to be talking a little bit about early Christian catacomb art. For my students, I want you to get out a piece of paper and something to write with. You're going to be taking notes. When you're done, you're going to be writing me 5 sentences about what's important, interesting, educational to you. When I grade this, I'm going to count those 5 sentences. I'm going to read it, make sure you're talking about stuff and you're talking about correctly, but I'm also going to be looking at your introductory statement. Your first sentence is really important. You want to make sure you have a good one introducing your subject, such as, early Christian catacomb art is important because, and then you would tell me why. All right, let's get started. All right, so early Christian catacomb art refers to catacombs. They are man-made underground burial caves. In this case, these are ones that are under the city of Rome. Between the years 200 and 400 CE or AD, current era, whatever you want to say it, Christians buried their dead here because Roman culture cremated the dead, but Christians felt that the body needed to be buried so the soul could rise from the dead when the second coming of Christ took place. Christianity was not a main accepted religion. A lot of people in the 19th century believed that the catacombs were used for Christians to hide in during the persecution period. And that's not true. They didn't hide there. They buried their dead there. They sometimes had religious ceremonies there. That's pretty much it. And the earliest forms of Christian art are in the catacombs. That's why we're talking about this. They're frescoes, that is paintings that were put onto wet plaster, and as they dry, they become part of the wall. There's also sculptures, and they show scenes from the Old and New Testament, as well as some Roman stories. And I've mentioned the part about the 19th century. Yes, they basically were burying their dead there. The catacombs are named for many different people. Many of the catacombs were actually dug by at the payment of rich people. And so they're named for them. The catacomb of Marcellinus and Peter, the catacomb of Priscilla. These are all ones that are named for someone specific. Some of them are named for saints who are buried in those catacombs. Today, the catacombs are under the care of the Roman Catholic Church and the Vatican, and many of them have tours. This is a map showing where the catacombs are in Rome. If you look at the top left-hand corner, you can see that it says Vatican, so that's where the Vatican is. The catacombs are being identified as cemeteries, and basically that's what they were. They were underground cemeteries. This is the doorway to one of the catacombs. Americans have a hard time understanding a lot of things in European and Asian and African history. These other continents have so much more history than we do that it really is hard to understand. Some places, if you are going to take a tour of one of the catacombs, and you can, your tour guide literally will be walking you down a street, lift up what looks like a manhole cover, and then have everybody climb down in. That's how simple it is, how unusual it is, where they hide the doorways to the catacombs. But this one is fairly obvious. It looks pretty open, and you can kind of see if you're looking closely, this is being used as an advertisement for some tours. And this is the interior of one of the catacombs, and you can see you've got these niches here where they have it so that people could put the dead in. And they wouldn't seal them up normally. They would just leave them like that. After many, many years, once the body is decomposed, they would frequently take the bones out and do something else with them. And in catacombs in places like Paris, they've actually done some kind of creepy, elaborate art with the dead bodies or the skeletal remains. But yeah, today as you go through, you might find that some of the skeletons are still in place. And here we have a picture showing some people taking a tour of one of the catacombs. Definitely not a place to go if you are claustrophobic because it's very tightly squeezed in there. In this picture and the one we just saw, hopefully you were noticing the artwork along the sides of the walls. They want to make sure it looks nice for their dead loved ones. But let's go ahead and look at the artwork. That's what we're here to be looking at. And as you notice, once again, these are frescoes. So they're painted into the wall. And they are painted with natural pigments. And remember, they were done during the period of 200 to 400 CE or AD. And so, yeah, sometimes they are getting a little bit more flaky and fading away a little bit. This one is showing Jesus surrounded by children. And according to this, Jesus is healing the children of various different things. I want you to notice how different Jesus looks from the way we imagine him today. He has not gotten that uniform look of the thin man with the beard that we normally would see. We've got a variety of different children standing around him. And I want you to notice that this artwork is very two-dimensional. It does not look like it has depth. And later on, we're going to be looking at some more traditional Roman art. And I want you to remember what this looks like when we get to that. This picture shows Mary, Joseph, and Jesus, the baby Jesus. It's also rather untraditional. Jesus looks to be, maybe 4 years old. There is a crown floating over his head. And if you look closely, you can notice that there appears to be writing in the little red rainbow over them, as well as behind Jesus. It's so faded, I don't even know if the historians and experts could read it. I certainly couldn't. All of them are raising their hands as if they are putting a blessing on us. And once again, Joseph and Mary are looking very, very traditional, the way we expect them to look, and Jesus is not. This is the story of Jonah and the whale from the Old Testament. Jonah is the guy being thrown overboard. The whale apparently is on the right side of the boat, looking to me sort of like a giant angry dog. I'm not really certain why they've got him looking that way. I'm not really seeing the whale in this. But it was a very popular story dealing with the idea if you don't do what God wants you to do, he will punish you and make your life difficult until you change your mind. Once again, I want you to notice how incredibly two-dimensional this picture looks. It is very flat looking. Keep that in mind when we later look at the Roman stuff. This is one of my favorites. This is a basket of loaves of bread and a fish. So it is from the story of Jesus giving out the loaves and the fish. Now, one of the things you don't see very much in these catacombs are pictures of crucifixes, crosses. Today, the cross is the international symbol of Christianity. But in its earliest days, the symbols were the loaves and the fish, and particularly the fish. And so if you see the people who are wearing those stylized fish decoration on their clothes, that's going back to one of the oldest symbols of Christianity there ever was, the fish. Now, this is a carving in the wall, so they've carved this part in. And I admit I cannot read the writing for you, and I could not find a translation. But once again, it is showing the fish, and on the left side, you can see that it has what looks to be a hook for fishing. And once again, part of the reason behind the fish being an important symbol deals with some of Jesus's apostles, particularly Peter and Andrew, who were fishermen. And so because they were early leaders of the church, the fish symbol, once again, very, very important. Now, this is another very important early symbol in Christianity. This is the shepherd with his sheep. Jesus is constantly talking about how he is the good shepherd. He's taking care of his flock, his people, things like that, that he wants his disciples to take good care of them. And so this one would have been a very important symbol. This one, actually, you can see that it has some background to it. There appears to be like leaves and trees behind him. I admit that his sheep look a little bit skinny, but you can notice that he does have one of them around his neck as well. This one is showing a meal. Early Christians, when they had their religious services, it normally was featuring around a meal, particularly with bread and wine, like the last meal of Jesus and his disciples. This could be symbolizing that. To be honest with you, they really don't know if this is symbolizing Jesus and his disciples or just an early Christian meal. Now, remember, part of the reason that we are looking at this and discussing this is the earliest known form of Christian art done by the earliest Christians. And you can see that it's kind of different from the way we normally see things today. Okay, so we have been discussing early Christian catacomb art, some of the earliest art in Christianity. My students, you are writing 5 sentences for me. Remember, I'm going to be looking for that introductory statement. Make sure it's a good one. Something about early Christian catacomb art is important because, and you tell me why. And for people who are watching this and this wasn't something you need to work on, well, I hope you enjoyed it anyway.